What is the worst thing you've ever seen happen at a wedding? I worked at a wedding a few years back when I was a catering chef. The bride was not feeling well at all, and her mother confided in me. So we were trying to help her mother convince her to take a few more photos, cake cutting, etc. before she went to change from her dress. We finished it all up, and the bride went to change, then ended up lying down a bit. We sort of chalked it up to her not eating enough and having a stressful day. Well, apparently she was newly pregnant and very nauseous. Somehow the DJ found out about this and took it upon himself to casually mention it to all of the wedding guests several times. The poor girl and her husband didn't want anyone to know. You definitely got a bad review on Yelp after that one. My mother-in-law handed out an EP of my now sister-in-law to as many guests as she could and threw a fit in the middle of the dance floor later that night because I didn't let her daughter sing with the band or karaoke. Her exact words were, "How dare you make today all about you? It was my wedding day." When you're about to drop the hottest mixtape of all time, you don't wait for your own wedding day to do it. Unfortunately, this country mixtape is full of 5 stereotypical songs about trucks, ex-boyfriends, and love, none of which are any good. Country mixtape, not any good. You kind of repeated yourself there. Just prior to my sister's wedding ceremony beginning, as everyone was getting in place and last minute things were being done in this big old Catholic church, my father noticed a woman with a confused look at the back of the church and approached her, asking if she needed anything. She informed him she was the bride, then opened a beat up suitcase she had which contained something resembling a wedding type dress. My father, suspecting she had some mental health issues, played along, suggesting that she may be in the wrong church. When that didn't work, he slipped off and called the police. In the meantime, the lady walked up to my soon-to-be brother-in-law and said, "You aren't going to leave me this time." When the police pulled up to the church, the lady spotted them and made a quick exit. Turns out she had a habit of pulling this stunt. My brother-in-law still occasionally reminds my sister that he had a choice on their wedding day, but still chose her. While tending bar at a wedding reception, I was approached by the father of the bride about a prank he wanted to pull. He wanted to bring his new son-in-law over for shots of ouzo, but he, tricksy prankster, wanted me to give them water and the groom liquor. I shrugged and said okay, and lined up some shots of water behind the bar, so I could pull off a little bartendery sleight of hand. Fast forward, sneaky father-in-law has brought his new son-in-law by repeatedly throughout the evening for shots. Son-in-law is now intoxicated. I refused to serve them further, but think little of it, because they were staying in the hotel. Fast forward, intoxicated groom decides to get his charger out of the car before retiring for the night with his new bride. Police officer sees him in the parking lot, keys in hand, visibly drunk, opening his car. As soon as he slides into the driver's seat, with no intention of going anywhere, the police officer arrests said new husband and son-in-law. The daughter of the prankster spends the first night of marriage alone and dad's new son-in-law now has a DUI charge pending. Seen a guy propose to his girlfriend at another person's wedding. This isn't terrible, like having people get into a fight, but generally looked down upon. The guy who proposed didn't ask the bride and groom if it would be okay, so he sort of stole their thunder. It was pretty awkward after the proposal, and there was lots of judgmental hushed whispering. One of my groomsmen, who is a friend of my wife, pulled us both to the side at our wedding to give us our present. He was with his girlfriend, and we were well away from the other guests. The card read happy wedding, etc. But then there was a poem in there that his girlfriend had written, asking us, me, and my wife to be godparents to their unborn child. We were overjoyed, and after the hugging and kissing, I asked him why he had pulled us away and been so apologetic. He said, "I didn't want to upstage you on your wedding day." The guy's so soft. I always thought that was pretty tacky. I worked a lot of special events and would inwardly cringe whenever somebody did this. Yeah, a wedding is just one of those places you don't propose. I can understand how easy it can be to get caught up in the atmosphere of love and celebration, but it's a day honoring the marrying couple. Don't steal their thunder. Me. When I was 3 or 4 years old, I was the ring bearer at my cousin's wedding. No one bothered to tell little Eumeritimus ahead of time that there wouldn't be a ring in the pillow I was carrying, and that it would already be up at the altar. So imagine my surprise when I start walking, look down, and realize that there wasn't a ring. I panicked and started crying because I thought I lost the wedding rings. I was beyond reason at that point, and it turned into a huge spectacle, and my dad had to carry me out of the ceremony. My cousin and her husband think it was hilarious, and it made their wedding memorable. 19 years, and I still feel a bit like a dummy for it. Edit. The tone of the original comment made it sound like I still lose sleep over this. We all look back on it now and laugh. The same thing happened to our ring bearer. I had no idea they were giving him an empty box. He was such a responsible little lad. He knew he had to give the box to the best man. But when he arrived at the altar, the best man waved him off, patting his pocket. On the wedding video, you can see the crushing disappointment in the kid's little face when he rattled the empty box. I was furious that no one had explained. Yeah, being a ring bearer is tough. When I was 4, I was the ring bearer in my aunt's wedding. My parents spent a reasonable amount of time telling me what to expect. However, what they failed to realize is that I expected to be the ring bearer. When the day of the wedding arrived and I was forced into a little tux and not in a bear costume as I had expected, I was seriously ticked off. Threw a tantrum apparently, but you have to admit that a ring bearer would be way cool. One of my wife's co-workers got married this past summer. Her father passed away from a fatal heart attack the morning of the wedding, but her family insisted and convinced her to go on with the wedding, so she did. It was awkward as heck, and nobody in the building made it through without crying, even the minister. My granddad did that the day before my wedding. Great way to go, all his kids there, and a nice meal. About 18 years ago, my mom's friend got married, and his mother died very close to the wedding. Maybe a month. Instead of a mother-son dance, he danced with his grandmother. Not only was there not a single dry eye in the house, I'm crying right now just thinking about it. It can be a tough choice whether to go through with the wedding or postpone it. We had a similar situation in our family. My grandfather passed away 5 weeks before a scheduled wedding, and my aunt postponed it because she just couldn't do it. She didn't lose too much money, and it was 5 weeks, so it wasn't a burden or inconvenience for the guests. Nobody was coming from abroad or anything like that. I don't think there's one right way to do this. Everyone grieves differently. There was like an 8-year-old boy who had loads of confetti in his hand, so I didn't think much of it. Turns out, he thought it was sugar paper and ate all of it. He then proceeded to projectile vomit everywhere through the middle of the ceremony. Was one of the funniest and most disgusting moments of my life. I'm just trying to imagine his thought process. Well, the first one didn't taste like sugar, let's try another. No, just paper. Maybe this yellow bit over here. Well, I'll be darned. Let's try the red. Never bring kids to a wedding. Cannot understand why some people refuse to grasp that concept. Went to my cousin's wedding, and she had invited an old college friend of hers. College friend brings her 2 young sons, aged about 3 and 5, who proceeded to shriek through the ceremony and sprint up and down the aisle. I was at a wedding where one of the bridesmaids had gotten married a month earlier and thought it was a good idea to change out of her dress into her wedding dress for the reception. We in the wedding party told her to change back. She decided to stand at the head of the buffet line and tell each and every one of us how she felt as we came through the line. Frick you, I slept with your husband, you're a jerk, etc. It goes on and on. Alcohol was involved, so you can imagine how it was. She refused to change out of her wedding dress until one of the other bridesmaids locked her in the bathroom and told her to change, or it was going to get physical. She changed and left not long after. The rest of the reception was a fantastic time. Did she actually sleep with that lady's husband, or was she just saying it to upset her? I don't think she actually did. I think she was just drunkenly saying the most hateful stuff she could come up with. We were partying in Puerto Vallarta, and there was a beautiful wedding going on at the hotel next door. A friend of mine was pretty drunk and just sprinted for the wedding. He hopped the wall, blasted through the seating arrangements, then body slammed the like 6-foot tall wedding cake. He spent the next 2 days in a Mexican jail. and will forever be a freaking jerk in my heart. I'm guessing this isn't the only story of him making great decisions while drunk. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more videos like this. Don't forget to leave your stories in the comments below.